Welcome to this walkthrough of my open world level, which I've been calling the Sanctuary of Seasons. This is a level split across 3 islands. This main one right here, one floating by itself here, and then finally this floating island over here that the player begins on. It's got these 2 major landmarks, this ice fortress here, this sacred tree up here on this very forested island, and then a hub, which the player should return to multiple times, which is this village along some cliffs. This is about traversal, using gliding and horse riding, which I've included for the player here, to sort of get across this world, supplemented by these different elemental arrows that they gain from the 2 landmarks. And with that quick introduction, we'll go ahead and start right here on this introductory island. So this is the location where the player starts. We're doing a couple of things on this introductory island. The first is introducing this landmark to the player. Not all of them at once, but just a couple so they can get situated and start to organize things. We're explaining to the player where they came from, this sort of teleportation stone that brought them here. And then as we turn around to continue, we're introducing mechanics one by one. So first the player will climb up this wall right here. Then there's this framed shot that introduces the sacred tree, the second landmark over here. A little dirt path leads them along here, shows off this route, and then hopefully what'll happen is the eyes follow along, see the main island, and then see the hub there as well. So now we've sort of, and with the hint of the ice fortress over there, organized the space for ourselves: tree, hub, ice fortress. And I've tried to emphasize the hub as much as possible with some leading lines here, because it's a bit smaller than the other things. So we've got a diagonal line here leading up, these floating islands leading down to it, lines of elevation leading towards the hub in all directions. Finally, we introduce the final mechanic of using the bow and arrow. Do a little bit of gliding across, be able to orient in the space one more time, point the player at the hub again with these 2 trees framing it, and then send him on a horse journey towards it. Arriving at the hub, as we will in a little bit, we first frame the sacred tree one more time, point them at the ice fortress and this floating island that becomes a shortcut later, and then wrap them around the back of this statue to build anticipation. The statue is holding green and blue orbs representing the elemental arrows they'll have to collect. And then finally, after showing off the tree one more time, we present this fork. At the fork, we've tried to give a clear choice between the 2 paths as much as possible. Snow in one direction, the green and lushness in the other. That path, the green and lush one with the force, has been given more visual interest with a thicker path, the hills framing the fort there. And then I've given this little bridge to keep the player's interest, give them something to jump over. As they climb up this fort, they see this bridge that implies the connection that once was between the 2 islands. And then they're brought into this cave, this cramped little space. Makes them feel cramped to amp up this big reveal and make it feel even bigger. As they carry on in the direction of the tree, we do this again, closed to open spaces, to closed again, before showing off this big vista, showing off the whole level, the ice fortress. Send them up towards the tree, have this false path of this bridge that's ruined. Of course, the player has a chance to get back up and get on the intended path, which is this route over, and then we close in the space again before giving the player the verdant arrows. We of course want to give the player the chance to use the new tool that they'd just gotten. So we use the trees here to frame the path forward, this big root rising up. And as we head up it, this perfect solitary pine tree just waiting to be grown with the arrow. If we take the arrow out, we can see there it goes, it grows. And this is meant to be an opportunity to raise the ability of the player to traverse various spaces with these trees sort of scattered across the level, enabling them to get places they wouldn't have otherwise. And next, just a sort of reward for the player, the chance to glide and soar across spaces that took much longer to traverse in the first place, while of course pointing them right at the Ice Fortress, which is their next major goal. Players that really want to show off their skills can do things like landing on the statue's head, having a little fun with the world, and perhaps activating slow-mo mode to grow this tree on their way down, which is the thing that enables a player to glide over to this floating highland where, of course, another pine tree is highlighted. And as they shoot it and climb up it, arriving at the top of this island, we direct their attention with this broken bridge, send them gliding across to these snowy banks that build anticipation for the arrival at the fortress, pointing them back at the level behind them, giving them a vista, a bit of fun on the horse here, getting to jump this ramp down into the ice, and then being led by snow piles and these big arches of ice into the ice fortress. We give them again something to do with a bit of climbing, and then reward them with the ice arrows. Just like last time, we want to immediately let the player use their new tool, so they get to reach this cliff that wouldn't otherwise be climbable, and then do a little more climbing as they get to the peak here, which will point them right back at the rest of the level, using the ice arrow here again for the last step, and directing attention with the bridge, point them right back at the sacred tree and the hub behind it. Here in this moment, using these two stones as sort of a goalposts. It's always fun when doing something like gliding to feel like you're aiming towards something, giving the player just a little goal to accomplish, letting them experience the level here in reverse, arriving at that fork from earlier, from the way back, and then very quickly rounding back to the hub, and with a glide over here, the experience is complete. They're back with both arrows, ready to go finally visit the Sanctuary of Seasons. Thank you for watching.